I want to explain why we should never trust those guru types who say, follow my formula and do exactly what I do and you'll have exactly the same success. And the way I'm going to explain it is through the remarkable story of ducks and apples. As you know, probably, I was an actor. I still do a little bit of acting, but not really very much these days. But when I came out of college, I was what was called, euphemistically, a jobbing actor. And a jobbing actor, for those of you who don't know, means an actor who's mostly out of work. And that was me. Now, because I have a lifetime background in sales, I would do sales and promotions jobs to make some money and pay the rent. I also have a background in science. And so one year I was chosen to go to the Ideal Home Show and be on the accessories stand for a hot tub company. Why? Well, it was nothing to do with my acting skills. It was because I had a science background, and so they thought I would be able to cope with pH and chlorine and filters, which indeed I was able to cope with. However, when I did the Ideal Home Show in London, it was 28 days long. It was 10 till 6 every day and then 10 till 10 on Thursday. So it was an absolute killer show. And the prospect of spending 28 days talking about chlorines and filters, well, that was enough to give me really a sinking feeling in my stomach. But here's the thing I didn't know. With every hot tub sale was also given away a little rubber duck. And in the accessories stand in front of all the filters and the chlorine were a collection of about 20-25 rubber ducks. And so in order to avoid insanity, I developed a one-man stand-up duck show, a comedy show. Hello, sir, you look like you could do with a quick duck. Hello there, madam, these ducks are driving me quackers. Sir, is that a duck in your pocket? Or are you just pleased to see me? And on and on and on it went. Well, that went down so well with the general public that I sold out not only of ducks, but accessories. The sales manager on the hot tub stand noticed my remarkable ability to spin a yarn with feathers, rubber feathers, and she said to me, look, you've sold these ducks and these accessories so well, would you like to come back next year and sell the hot tubs? And I thought for a millisecond, and then I said, yes, I'd be delighted. Next year I was selling hot tubs, and of course, because I have those really many years of experience in sales, I outsold all the salespeople on the stand, and they said to me, Howard, you're an actor. Do you know any other actors who could do this? I said, yes. And so together we formed a team. And that team became what was euphemistically known as the show team. And we travelled all around the UK selling hot tubs. Now, I'd never ever done any kind of sales training. I was a natural salesperson, worked on my father's map and print stand at the age of 9 or so, and I just sold, as my mother would say, Howard, you could sell ice to Eskimos. So, as part of this hot tub company, I didn't know at the time, but they were owned by a Masco, which is a Fortune 100 company. And that company every year did sales training, ironically enough, funnily enough, here in Portugal, but down on the coast on the Algarve. And so for the very first time, I attended sales training. And that sales training was run by a wonderful man by the name of Greg Welsh. And he was an energetic, really buoyant, lively American. And within about 2 minutes of him speaking, I knew that his advice was literally sales gold. I'd been in sales long enough to recognize his expertise. And so I was somewhat dismayed and perplexed when, in the coffee break and in the lunch break, my fellow British hot tub sales folk were saying, well, this will never work in the UK. That you can't ask people what their budget is, they'll get offended. I knew that all we needed to do as Brits was basically just to adapt what Greg was telling us. I took part fully in that training. It involved role play, it involved all kinds of stuff, and I absolutely loved it. And at some point in that training, I had a eureka moment. I realized that I could combine my acting, my science, my sales skills, and go for sales training. And it was like the sky opened and a lightning bolt came down. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, but it was magnificent. And after one of the training sessions, I can't remember which day it was, I went over to Greg and I said, Greg, I love this sales training so much that I want to do your job. And Greg really surprised me because he didn't just say, well, good luck, off you go, mate. Very nice to hear it. No, Greg said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you to do this job because, you know, we're American, you're British, and we're sensing that a lot of these British chaps, they just don't really get it. And we think maybe you could. And the next year, with Greg's help, I was the sales trainer. And I combined Greg's training with my own take on the world of acting. And I then went on to form a global sales company. And then fast forward many years to Shanghai, and I met with the vice president of Apple in China, who was a friend, who asked me how things were going. I was a wealth manager at the time, but I was full of beans because I'd said to Rory, the vice president, Rory, I'm just so pumped because I've just delivered some sales training for business folk in one of the clubs that I belong to, and it went so well. He introduced me to his HR department, and within 2 or 3 months after some discussion, I was training the senior executives and then the senior leaders at Apple in China. Now, I've gone from ducks to apples. And if I was one of those gurus, I would say to you, here's what you need to do. You need to, first of all, train to be an actor. Then you need to go to the Ideal Home Show and do a one-man show about ducks. Then you need to go to Shanghai and on and on. You can see, can you not, how ridiculous that advice would be. And yet, I see the equivalent of that so many times in this online business world. Here's what worked for me. I sent these emails, I did this show, I did this podcast, and now I'm a multi-millionaire, and here's how you can do it too. Just fill out these blanks. Now, I don't want to end on a depressing note of just ignore the gurus, because that would just be negative, and I'm a positively driven person. So here's what I suggest instead. Rather than simply copying formulas, let's look at principles. The principles that led to my success, now I can step back in my 60s and really have a think about it, are the following. Number one, it was by combining my skill sets together that I made something truly special. Acting, science, selling, and Greg's training, all of them together made for something unique. And by the way, it was something that the Brits loved because I was able to phrase things in the gentle British way that the Americans perhaps were not able to do. And so they were right in their instinct to hire me. But it was only because I possessed a number of skill sets together that I was able then to go on to develop that and to deliver sales training all around America, the UK, Europe, Asia, China. So that's principle number one, is look to combine those skills that perhaps up till now you've kept maybe a little bit separate, perhaps. Number two is put yourself in a position where you are shining, where you are doing things that you're so proud of. I had tried, ironically enough, as a wealth manager to persuade Rory to be a client Sorry about that sudden camera tilt, but there you go, technology for you. I had managed to fail to persuade him to work with me in the wealth management area, well, for several years, but we became friends. And as friends, when I told him about the success and the joy that I'd found with training people as in sales using acting skills for business folk, it led naturally to work with Apple. So I, in a way, went from zero to hero in that world. I went straight from never having worked with a corporation other than Masco a long time before to working with the biggest corporation on the planet. And that is because I put myself in a position where I was simply expressing the joy of discovery, the joy of delivering what I do best. So if you can put those principles in place, then you too can find your way to go from ducks to apples and to bring your expertise online in ways that make your heart sing too. I hope you found this story inspiring, despite some of the weird camera moves and tilting. But we'll let that go, shall we, in the interests of the value I'm trying to bring to this channel. As you know, I'm appealing to mature professionals who struggle to express that expertise and who find these templates and formulas and quick fixes and hacks not suitable really for who they are, nor who they want to be, nor how they want to show up. So if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead. If you haven't yet done my free 7-day clarity sequence, then you'll find a description in the channel. And I just welcome you to this world, perhaps of the gentle stroll beside the river. And I will be sharing many stories from my past that I will hope bring you a deeper understanding of what it means to bring your business online.